Hey there, loyal Commanders fan. Today we're diving deep into a super comprehensive analysis. How can our team bounce back in the next game against the Carolina Panthers? We know things aren't easy, but we've been through worse. And if there's one thing we've learned, it's that the battle isn't over until the clock hits zero. So if you want to know the secrets to us coming back with a win, watch until the end. Because I'm bringing information that could change the course of our offense and defense. And of course, if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, subscribe right now. Here you won't miss anything, and you'll help strengthen our community of Commanders enthusiasts. Now, let's get to the game. To start, let's get straight to the point. The first big key is keeping Chuba Hubbard under control. This guy has been one of the strongest points of the Panthers' offense, which, by the way, has been quite irregular. Carolina's team is clearly in an adjustment process under coach Dave Canales, but when it comes to running, Hubbard has stood out. With an average of 5.6 yards per carry and over 180 yards after contact, the guy is on fire. That's why we have to go into this game with an aggressive mindset on defense. Stopping their running game will force quarterback Andy Dalton to throw more. And let's face it, the Panthers' passing game isn't the most threatening, ranking only 23rd in the league. This could be our chance to turn the game around. Now, can we ignore the fact that we lost Jonathan Allen? No way. It was a hard blow to our defensive line, especially because Allen is a crucial piece in the middle. But fans, this is the time for the backups to show what they're made of. Our defense has been giving up 137.7 rushing yards per game, which is concerning. Without Allen, the mission to stop Hubbard becomes even more complicated. It's going to be a big test for our defensive line, but I'm sure that if we can limit Hubbard's runs and force Dalton to use his arm, our chances of victory increase greatly. Moving on to our second key, the Commanders' running game needs to come back strong. Last week against the Ravens, our offensive line simply couldn't open up space for Brian Robinson Jr., who was out due to injury, and that really hurt our offense. The good news is that this time he should be back, and Carolina has one of the worst defenses against the running game. They're giving up the third most rushing yards per game and, believe it or not, the highest number of rushing touchdowns in the league. In other words, this is our opportunity to dominate on the ground. If the Commanders' offensive line gets back to doing what it knows best, we might see the offense functioning much more smoothly. We're averaging 5.1 yards per carry, which puts us among the best teams in this aspect, and that's no small feat. Plus, our line is very well coordinated, with center Tyler Biadasz standing out with the 7th best offensive grade at his position, and guards Nick Allegretti and Sam Cosmi holding their own. If we can control the clock and maintain possession, Carolina will have a hard time stopping us. And speaking of clock control, this will be crucial in this game. The more time the ball is in our hands, the less time Hubbard and Dalton will have to try anything on the other side. Not to mention that our offense works better when it imposes this rhythm, especially running the ball and opening up the playbook for more creative plays in the second half. Now, if we can't run the ball well, that's when the problem will appear, because our passing game, although promising, is not yet at the level we need to carry the team on its back. And there's more. This is one of those games where the mental aspect also counts for a lot. We're coming back home after a tough streak of losses, and the atmosphere in the stadium will be intense. The fans will be on our side, and this could be the fuel we needed to push the team back to confidence. But of course, we have to take advantage of this edge, especially on defense. Forcing Carolina to make mistakes, play under pressure, and maybe get some turnovers could be the difference maker. Last week, we faced the Ravens in a duel that demanded the most from the team. Facing a Super Bowl caliber team is never easy, and Washington knew how to rise to the occasion. Now, we have a slightly different scenario ahead, but that doesn't mean we can relax. The next challenge is against the Panthers, a team that, on paper, is struggling. But if you've been following the NFL for a while, you know there's no such thing as a one game before the clock hits zero. So, the Burgundy Amp, Gold have to enter the field focused and prepared to deal with the challenges the Panthers might present. Speaking of the Panthers, you might be thinking, oh, but they have one of the worst records in the league. And that's true. Their campaign hasn't been the best. But that doesn't mean it'll be a walk in the park. They have some important pieces that could complicate things for us if we're not careful. Their running game, for example, has the potential to exploit gaps in our defense. Plus, they have a veteran quarterback, Andy Dalton, who, while not brilliant, has been improving the Panthers' offense in recent weeks. So, we can't let our guard down. And that's the secret, folks. The Commanders' defense has been doing an increasingly better job, but this is the type of game where we can't make silly mistakes. The Panthers secondary, led by J.C. Horn and Xavier Woods, is talented. They have a defense that, despite its flaws, can complicate our offense's life if we don't play smart. It's not because they're having problems this season that we can underestimate this group. And there's more. They've allowed many passing touchdowns, but if they can pressure, they might force errors. What worries me a bit, and here I want to hear from you, is the question of the pressure they can put on Sam Howell. Our offensive line has to hold firm and give time for the offense to develop. Howell has shown that, with time in the pocket, he can make great plays. But if the Panthers line starts to bother him, it could mess up our offense's rhythm. So, the key here is to maintain focus and consistency. We've seen this consistency in recent games, and it needs to continue. But it's not just on offense that we need to be alert. The Commanders' defense has been growing impressively in recent weeks. The defensive line has been a terror for opponents, and this is the kind of performance we need to replicate against the Panthers. If we can pressure Dalton and make him make bad decisions, we have a great chance of dominating the game. Our secondary will have to deal with some good receivers like Xavier Legette and Adam Thielen, but if we maintain the same defensive energy from recent games, we should be fine. And guys, it might seem obvious, but the best way to win this game is simply not to let the Panthers feel like they have a chance. If the score starts to tighten, they might gain confidence, and that's when they could complicate our lives. We have to be relentless. We can't allow this game to turn into a battle where the outcome is in the hands of Dalton and company. We know our team has talent and has been playing consistently, so the goal here is to make that count on the field. And we can't talk about this game without mentioning the importance of controlling the game's pace. Let's be honest, the Panthers aren't one of the best teams in the NFL this year, but that doesn't mean they can't be dangerous. Andy Dalton is a veteran who, if given space, can make important plays. But if we can put pressure on the scoreboard early, Dalton will have to force some plays, and that's where our secondary can shine. Our focus should be on imposing our rhythm from the start. We can't give the Panthers the feeling that they're in the game. A team that's struggling like theirs only needs a spark to ignite. So, how's your heart, fan? Because mine is already racing, but there's more. Our receivers will also play a crucial role in this game. Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson have to be decisive against a secondary that, despite being talented, like J.C. Horn and Xavier Woods, hasn't been consistent. Without strong pass pressure up front, our quarterbacks should have enough time to exploit this defense and put the ball in the hands of our playmakers. This is where we can see explosive plays, and I'm talking about big plays that will change the course of the game. Now, let's agree. If Washington's offense continues with the rhythm we've seen in recent weeks, and the defense keeps pressuring and forcing turnovers, I have no doubt the victory will come. But football is unpredictable, right? And that's where the danger lies. We've seen theoretically weaker teams steal games like this in the past. We can't get complacent, and the Commanders know that. And speaking of predictability, what's your guess for this game, fan? Will we be able to maintain consistency and dispatch the Panthers without scares? Or does this game hide more traps than we imagine? Comment below because I'm curious to know what you think. Let's get this discussion fired up. If you haven't liked the video yet, do it now, because it really helps us keep bringing content to you. And subscribe to the channel, okay? Now, a final question to leave you thinking. Can this Washington Commanders team, which has shown consistency in recent weeks, stay strong until the playoffs? This game against the Panthers could be a good thermometer for what's ahead, but do you think we're ready to face the big challenges of the season? I want to see what you think.